The Philadelphia Eagles took a devastating loss in overtime last night versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And one has to ask an honest question of, are the Eagles running out of time to get their stuff together? We're going to talk about that. And then meanwhile, the Indianapolis Colts are free falling and they are gasping for air currently. And now they are going out and making a desperate move. We got to talk about it, break it all down. But before we do so, you got to hit the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, NFL fans? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm holding it down for today's episode. So if you're tuned in, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It don't matter what team you root for, as long as you like talking this football talk the way it's supposed to be talk. So tune in, man. But hey, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, it was a back and forth affair with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Chargers. And ultimately, in overtime, Jalen Hurts threw a game-sealing interception, and the Philadelphia Eagles lost 19-22. To be quite frank with you, it was Jalen Hurts' worst game of his career. My man threw four interceptions. And the one of his interceptions came at the worst time. Honestly, if you're in the red zone, Nick Sirianni, why didn't you run the ball on first down? Now, understand that Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl winning quarterback and Super Bowl MVP, has to take care of the football. That's number one priority. However, your coach has to place you in good position as well. But the main question is, will the Philadelphia Eagles get their stuff together? Are the Philadelphia Eagles running out of time? Because the Philadelphia Eagles currently sit on a 3-game losing streak, and it appears that the Philadelphia Eagles are struggling to find answers. At one time we believed that the Philadelphia Eagles had the best offensive line in the league, or at least one of them. I'm not saying that their offensive line is currently not good, but it's not of what we've seen in years past. And they have been struggling. I think Saquon Barkley yesterday went out there and rushed for 122 yards. That's just his second 100-yard rushing game of the season. I expected a drop off from Saquon Barkley, but I did not expect a drop off like this one. But they are struggling to find answers. One week they want to go out there and place emphasis on running the ball. The next week they want to play emphasis on throwing the ball. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles, as it currently stands, they lack an identity, which is crazy because the identity is staring them right in their faces. Run the football. You got to stay consistent with it, and you have to find your identity at some point throughout this season. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, what are you going to do moving forward? With matchups coming up in the next few weeks, the last 4 weeks of the season all seem about winnable. But will they get their stuff together? Now, they have a matchup next week versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Then you see the Washington Commanders, the Buffalo Bills, and end the season versus the Washington Commanders. Now, I remember a couple years ago, we looked at the Philadelphia Eagles. They were 10-1, and then they just fell off the face of the earth and just lost. It was a bunch of losses. Now you started off well in your season to where you beat the Green Bay Packers, you beat the Rams, you beat some really good teams. And then just the last 3 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles, they don't look like themselves. You lose versus the Dallas Cowboys. You get dominated on Black Friday by the Chicago Bears, and you let one slip away yesterday to the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, if you ask me, do I believe that this team can turn it around? I'm not gonna sit up here and play around with it. I don't believe so. But this is a championship team, and I'm not gonna count them out 100%. But I'll say that the confidence is very, very low that this football team can get their stuff together. Now, can you figure out some ways to go out there and maybe a win versus the Las Vegas Raiders can catapult you to, finding your way? Because we already know for the Philadelphia Eagles, all it takes is one win to start to get your footing. And we already know the team that gets hot late in the season, they can go on a run. We've seen it time and time after again, time and time again. And right now, I'll be 100% with you. I'm not confident that they can do it, but I'm not going to count the champs out. I know that they have star power all throughout that football team. They have a defense outside of the Chicago Bears game. They've been really consistent. And I think this is a way that they can bounce back if they go out there and get that win versus the Raiders this week. And we could see what really is gonna happen with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see. We'll see. I've seen crazier things in my life when it comes to watching the NFL. And who's to say that these guys can't get in the playoffs, win this division, and go on another run? I don't necessarily have them as a Super Bowl pick, but like I said, I've seen crazier things in my life. But time is running out for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not confident that they'll turn this whole thing around. But like I said, sometimes you just never know. Now we move on to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. My goodness. The Indianapolis Colts, like the Philadelphia Eagles, are on their own 3-game losing streak. And right now, it seems everything is terrible for the Indianapolis Colts. Earlier in the season, we looked at the Indianapolis Colts as being a potential Super Bowl contender. I believe, and I think a lot of you all will agree, that currently, right now, on this day, we don't believe that. The devastating injury that just happened to Daniel Jones, tearing his Achilles in the first quarter of their last game. And that was a divisional game, and you coughed that up. And the rest of the schedule is just tough for the Indianapolis Colts. And right now, they don't appear to have a quarterback ready to play. Daniel Jones tore his Achilles. We have no word on Anthony Richardson. And the quarterback that's supposed to take over for the Indianapolis Colts and Riley Leonard, he has a knee injury. So the Indianapolis Colts now move on to a desperate move to call up Philip Rivers, 44-year-old, 44-year-old Philip Rivers. The Indianapolis Colts have called him and are now deciding if they want to have him play quarterback for them. And he hasn't played a snap in 5 years. Desperate, you say, huh? Absolutely desperate move by the Indianapolis Colts. Those losses that they've taken in the last few weeks have been detrimental to their season, and quite honestly, it's looking like that the season might be cooked. You lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, you lost to the Houston Texans, you lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and coming up on your schedule, you got to now go play Seattle with no solution at quarterback. And then you have to turn around and play the San Francisco 49ers, and then in your season against 2 divisional opponents in the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. We might have to stick a fork in the Indianapolis coach, yo. It's sad to say, because I think that Daniel Jones was, gaining ground, gaining ground for, potentially being the solution for a couple more years for the Indianapolis Colts. Started to teeter off, but then injuries hurt him. And it's just sad to see, because he will not be. I don't anticipate Daniel Jones being available for the Indianapolis Colts to start next season. So it's just one of those situations where you look at it and you be like, man, it's just so bad. It's just so bad. Terrible injuries, terrible losses, and the Indianapolis Colts are struggling. And now you want Philip Rivers to come and save the day? There is no other option. There is no other option for the Indianapolis Colts but to call Philip Rivers, who's 44 years old, who hasn't played since 2020. My goodness, that is a bad position to be in. I don't know if Philip Rivers can come in and do anything. Not even gonna hold you. Maybe, but he been out the league for so long. I can't bank on that. I can't. I look at this situation as a desperate move and they're trying to figure it out, but I'm looking like, man, there is not another quarterback on the market that's a free agent right now that you can bring in now that's younger, that could provide you with something other than 44-year-old Philip Rivers. He should be chilling with his kids. He got 10 of them. So it's just a bad situation to be in if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. And I feel for y'all too, man. Y'all was having a hell of a season until, you guys started to lose games and lose close ones at that and major ones at that. 2 divisional losses. And at this particular moment, I don't know where they go from here. Maybe it's going to have to come to the offseason and where they really look internally at the GM and the head coach and be like, what were the decisions made to not have a good backup plan? I guess Riley Leonard was a good backup plan. You challenged Anthony Richardson. Obviously, you could not anticipate the injury to Anthony Richardson, but what was the developmental? Where was he in his developmental process is one of the questions. And then with Daniel Jones, you put him out there with a fractured leg. You put him out there with a fractured leg. And he tore his Achilles throwing the ball. So Indianapolis Colts, they should be they are scrambling for answers right now, and I feel bad for them. But it's the life of the NFL. You can go from having a good ass season to turning out, and the ending is bad. That's the life of the NFL. We've seen it time and time again. Teams start off hot, they ultimately falter at the end of the season, and then things go bad. Or vice versa. You see teams start off bad, and then ultimately they get really, really hot, and then things start to look bright for them. And that's the situation for one of the teams in the Indianapolis Colts division in the Houston Texans. They have a legit chance to make the playoffs now after having a rough start to their season. Injuries, losses, things like that. And one thing that has been consistent for the Houston Texans is that defense is real. But hey, where do they go from here? Both teams, the Eagles and the Indianapolis Colts, searching for answers. I think the Eagles have a greater chance to rise up from getting knocked down. I don't know if the Indianapolis Colts are going to get up from being knocked down this season, though. But hey, let me know what you think. Oh, excuse me. I got the hiccups now. Childish ass shit. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Before you get up out of here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit that noti, and then just let us know your thoughts on today's episode, man. And what your thoughts on the Eagles? Can they turn it around? Indianapolis Colts, where do they go from here? Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all always love football, and y'all already know we're going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.